Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Madam Secretary, good morning. And I, too, echo the Chairman's comments in welcoming you to your new position, Mr. Connor. I know you've got a lot of work to do there, and we appreciate that. Ms. Sue, Ms. Hayes, also welcome to the committee. Fellow colleagues, I have asked the Chairman for a bit of indulgence this morning in perhaps going a little bit longer in my opening statement than I otherwise would. I have had an opportunity to speak with the Secretary about an issue that is very close, very personal to me, to the people of King Cove, many of whom I know you've had a chance to visit with yesterday and who are here today, but truly to the people of Alaska. And while I will direct most of my questions to the specifics within the budget, I wanted to take this opportunity as part of my opening statement to speak to the issue, an issue that has galvanized Alaskans, not just during this year with the recent decision made by the Secretary, but truly for the past several decades, as the people of King Cove have sought an answer to their quest for a simple road to safety. Secretary, I will never forget the telephone conversation that you and I had on December 23rd when I was sitting in the parking lot of the Fred Meyer store waiting to go in and get gift wrap and other sundry things for the Christmas holidays. And you told me at that time that you were rejecting the life-saving gravel access road to King Cove. I told you at that time, and I have repeated, I cannot convey in words adequate to describe the frustration, the anger, the sadness with which I received that decision, how disheartened I knew the people of King Cove would be, and adding insult to injury, the fact that it was delivered the day before Christmas Eve, what should have been a joyous holiday time for the people of this small community, a break from the political rhetoric that goes on. It ruined the holidays for certainly the people of King Cove, certainly put a damper on all that I was doing, knowing how the people were going to bear the weight of this decision. I will never, ever understand the timing of the decision, and I am still trying to reconcile the reasons behind your decision. I know, as I mentioned, that the folks that are here from King Cove that have traveled over 4,000 miles to be here to try to speak with you after many attempts and opportunities to discuss this issue. I'm not certain that they feel any more convinced today than they have been about the prospects that they have as a people fighting for a small road up against an administration and a decision that seemingly makes no sense whatsoever. For my colleagues here and those that in the audience that may be unfamiliar with the history of this issue, with the Omnibus Public Lands Bill of 2009, we authorized the Interior Department to transfer over 60,000 acres of state and private land to the Eisenbeck Refuge. And we did this in exchange for just over 200 acres. It was 206 acres of federal land. This is a 300-to-1 exchange. A 300-to-1 exchange that had been negotiated with the folks from Fish and Wildlife, that had been negotiated with the native people of King Cove, with individuals from the state, with the delegation. It was a pretty remarkable exchange. And this was all done to provide the 965 residents of the King Cove community a safe and reliable access to the all-weather airport in Cold Bay, the second longest runway in the state of Alaska, built after World War II. And the exchange was not only extraordinarily lopsided, but what the people of King Cove agreed to was that they would not use this road for commercial purposes, because there were some who suggested that the processing facility there might want this road to make money. they agreed that it would be used for non-commercial use. So imagine, if you will, a 10-mile, one-lane, gravel, non-commercial use road with barricades or cordons on either side so that you cannot move off the road. Pretty specific road. That's it. It's not a major highway. We're not even going to pave it. It is a community. King Cove is a community with a clinic, no hospital, no doctor. Residents have to fly from Cold Bay more than 600 miles to get to Anchorage, where our hospital that can handle critical medical procedures exists. But the problem that we have in King Cove is that weather and very difficult geography doesn't allow for reliable access from the community of King Cove to Cold Bay, so that these flights are often canceled, weathered out, just don't happen. Since the decision was made December 23rd, there have been 7 emergency medevacs out of King Cove, including 4 that have been performed by the Coast Guard. Just about a week and a half ago, there was 2 medevacs conducted in one day. A fisherman who had been crushed by a crab pot, crushed his pelvis and both legs. He was taken to the clinic there in King Cove, and while he was in the clinic, discovers that a 1-month-old infant who is there in respiratory distress and also needs to be medevaced out, that it is his son. So we have a father and a son in the clinic waiting for evacuation. Through the grace of God and the bravery of the Coast Guard and the other responders, that dad and his baby are doing fine. The 63-year-old woman who was medevaced out by the Coast Guard on Valentine's Day, who was suffering heart conditions, is also doing fine. But as the Coast Guard will describe, and as the video describes, the conditions that the Coast Guard responded to were truly, truly life-threatening. Every Coast Guard flight risks the lives of at least 4 Coast Guardsmen and women, not to mention the patient that they're trying to evacuate. In the situation of the father and his young son, they had to wait hours. Sometimes folks have to wait days to receive these emergency medical evacuations. It is not without cost. It is not without risk. Each one of these Coast Guard evacuations costs a minimum of $210,000 to go from Cold Bay to King Cove. That's taxpayer dollars. That's our Coast Guardsmen and women's lives at risk. And they take on the humanitarian issue and mission because that's who they are. But it is not the mission of the Coast Guard to provide for evacuation services to an airport for the residents of King Cove. There is a safe and an easy way to help our fellow citizens, and the only thing that is standing in the way is our own federal government's decision to place a higher value on the birds than it does on the health and the safety of my state's citizens, and that is simply wrong. Madam Secretary, your department claims to honor the trust responsibility and to improve the lives of our Alaska Natives, including the majority Aleut residents in King Cove. But the decision that you made in December flies in the face of this responsibility. The notion from your department that you must protect Alaska from Alaska Natives, our First People, it's insulting. And that's the way that Alaskans feel. We feel insulted that we cannot care for the land and the animals and the birds and still provide for a safe, reliable access. The people of King Cove have been living in this area for thousands of years. They rely on the birds. They rely on the wildlife. They have been stewards long before there was ever a refuge, long before there was ever a wilderness. When you announced your decision in December, you recognized the need for reliable methods of emergency transport from King Cove. You reaffirmed the department's commitment to, quote, assist in identifying and evaluating options that would improve access to affordable transportation and health care. But, Madam Secretary, we've seen none of this. I did not hear any clear direction from you yesterday when we met. I asked Assistant Secretary Sue during your confirmation hearing last month whether you could name an action, any one single action that you or anyone at Interior has taken to protect the health and the safety of King Cove residents since the road was rejected in December. I have seen nothing. The passage of time on this issue has not lessened my passion to see justice for the people of King Cove. I will not get over this issue. I am also unwilling to allow your department to do nothing to help the Alaskans that it has promised to assist, who at this point, I believe, we're seeing only further imperiled. 7 medevacs since the 1st of January. I think my colleagues need to know. I think the administration needs to get to know. I think, Secretary Jewell, you know very clearly. I will do everything in my power for as long as I am here to enable the people of King Cove to receive proper emergency access that the rest of us take for granted. If you are not going to reverse the decision that you announced on December 23rd, I believe that the least that you can do is reopen the record of decision in order to reconsider the issue. Because you need to know that I will not stand by and watch as more Alaskan lives are put at risk. Put at risk potentially to die. I will not let this issue die. When I spoke before the Alaska Legislature in February, I spoke with great passion about this issue. Alaskans are very passionate about this issue. And I said, maybe I need to channel my inner Ted Stevens. And everybody laughed because they knew what that meant. When Ted was really agitated and really going to let nothing stand in his way, he would wear his Hulk tie. Today I have a Hulk scarf on. And I don't typically engage in much drama. I'm not a message person. I'm a person who wants to get something done. But I need you to carry the message to this administration that this road is non-negotiable, that the health and the safety of the people of King Cove is non-negotiable, and that I will do everything within my power to make sure that the needs of these people are taken care of and put first. Put first, because that is my charge, to take care of the people of the state of Alaska for whom I work. Now, Madam Secretary, as we discussed yesterday, it's important. It's important for you, it's important for me, it's important for my state that we're able to work on issues together. I am not an unreasonable woman, and I believe that you want to do right as well, and you have an opportunity to demonstrate that. And I would hope, again, that you would look at the facts, you would listen to the people of King Cove, you would listen to Alaskans, and you would listen to your heart in doing the right thing. I look forward to discussing some of the issues within your budget during our questions, but it was too important for the people that I represent that I not take this time this morning to make very clear for the record, for my colleagues, for you and for the administration, that we are not done with this issue. With that, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the time.